there folks, welcome you all to yet another podcast of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. Although I say that, I did mention in my podcast last week, I was off this week. So every day has been kind of like a Friday to me anyway. However, Xbox and Bethesda showcase happened the other day, 4 days ago or so, and a couple of other bits of news that I thought I'd sprinkle in for good measure, but predominantly it's going to be about the Xbox, Bethesda, and home in on the big bits from that. I'm not quite as attuned to what happened in it. I did watch it, but because it was sort of 4 days ago, I did sort of I went over some of the trailers again as I was downloading them that I can splice together with this podcast, like I do, people. And I was sort of refreshing my mind on some of the stuff. I've taken some notes down. I've got the list, obviously, of things that we're going to talk about. How much I've actually got to say about each thing, I guess we'll find out. However, all of that said, I'm hoping that it doesn't turn into what it turned into last week. I did not, by any stretch of the imagination, imagine that the podcast last week was going to be an hour and 40 minutes long. I mean, I think that's a record for me. And there was no editing of me talking. Like, I mean, I spliced in the videos, but that was me straight talking for an hour and 40 minutes. It's like, Jesus Christ, do I like the sound of my own voice or what? So I'm thinking, and it took me a shit ton of time to edit it together as well, because I was still getting used to the new software that I talked about, the Filmora software. So I was just kind of getting familiar with that. I probably could have spliced it together a bit quicker in the old software, but the old software would have taken, about 3 hours to render it together. Filmora took it 20 minutes once I'd actually done it. However, I think I waited until, because it got quite late in the night by the time I finished editing it together. I think it was about quarter to 10 or something, 9:30. So I decided I was just going to post it up for the Sunday morning, and you guys got it on the Sunday morning, because I think it was last Saturday I did it, wasn't it? So, but it was, I was really chuffed with the way it came out, but I was quite blown away by the fact that I've been talking for quite that length of time. So I'm hoping we don't get to those dizzy heights today. I think if we can contain it to an hour, people, I mean, if you guys enjoyed it, that's fine, but I think an hour and 40 minutes of one person talking, most podcasts and gaming, you tend to get a group of people all talking about it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. But it was a bit of a mammoth undertaking to edit it all. For my first time editing a podcast together on my new software, I didn't half pick a mammoth one to do it on. But it all came out great, and it was good to see an hour and 40 minutes render with all of those trailers in there as well, render in 20 minutes. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, people, that's redonkulous, absolutely redonkulous. It would have taken the old software at least 3 hours to do an hour and 40 minute render like that. I can't believe how quick this software can render that quality of video. And I rendered it at 60 FPS, and I used to render the other one at 30. I used to render on my old software at 30 FPS because it took it so long. So not only is it doing it in 20 minutes, it's doing it at 60 frames per second as well, and in a better quality. So I'm super, super chuffed with the software. Just now I've got a little bit of groove on with it last week. It should be a bit quicker for me to edit it together this week, and we'll keep getting better as we go, people. There you go. I still haven't done Flaggins up to you all, did I say? Flaggins up to you all. Flaggins up Friday. When was the last time we did a Flaggins up on an actual Friday? I can't remember. I can't remember the last time I did a poll either. Obviously, we're still getting back from 3 weeks of COVID, getting back into the groove of things, people. It was nice to have that. I had a week back at work. Then I had this week off. I'm back at work next week for a week, and then I'm off for another week. So I do apologise that I've not put any gameplay up for you guys yet again. I did envisage doing a lot of recording this week. That hasn't happened just because I've been busy with other stuff. I will as always, people, and I will put the time codes down, so if you want to skip me blabbing on at the beginning and what have you, you can skip to the bits that are of interest to you. I've had a good week actually, but it's been a very expensive one because it's the time of month for the car to get its MOT and all that malarkey, and that's happening in in another week's time. So a week on Tuesday, the actual MOT and service is happening. I've tried to preempt the MOT by getting a few things done, like my number plate at the front was on a sort of warning last year because it had a crack on it. So I've got new number plates, fitted those myself. I fitted them myself, didn't make them myself because that would just be ridiculous, people. So I ordered them online and sort of drilled the little holes where they needed to be and screwed it on and all that myself. So I've replaced those. And I went to the dentist on Monday morning. Went in, dentist went great, 3-month visit. Came out of there and I got into my car. I went to, now when I go to the dentist, I don't go into the car park at the dentist because it's absolute mayhem and you can never get parked. So I park on a street further down. And when I went to pull out, I looked at my mirror, I thought something feels off, like my mirror wasn't aligned properly, and I thought, oh, someone must have bumped it. And then when I looked even closer, I realised that the entire plastic frame on the right-hand side of the mirror had been broken off. Someone had hit it, and it had, when I got out of the car, it was lying in the street. And God knows how they've managed to do it. I can only assume that it must have been a bike or a motorbike, because the mirror itself wasn't broken. It was in perfect form. And the mirror was working. It's an electric mirror and it was all moving fine. But the plastic that frames it had been broken off on the right-hand side. Massive gouge out of it. And it was sort of sharp and pointy edges and stuff as well. So it probably would have failed its MOT for it. And I've got quite an old car. It's a Honda Accord that I drive around, one of the ye old 2000 ones. I love it. I absolutely love this car. I got it for $2,000 about 7 years ago, and it's done me nothing but proud. It's been absolutely superb. I mean, what I'll get it in the end will be the rust. But anyway, so I understand with an age of a car like that, sometimes it's hard to get parts. Sometimes, I mean, I could have trawled around and tried to find scrap yards that had old mirrors and stuff, but I didn't really want to do that. Anyway, long story short, I ended up at the Honda garage, and it was... You can't buy the frame for the mirror. You've got to buy the whole electric mirror, and it was £220 to replace the mirror. So thank you to whatever twat decided to hit my car and not bother leaving a note or a message or any kind of, let me help you pay for the damage. I mean, I can't believe there's still fucktards in the world like that, honestly. Unbelievable. Fuck nuggets, should we call them that? So I was really, it ate at me for a whole day. I was like, I can't believe this has just happened. It was my dad's birthday as well. And later on, we were going out to see Top Gun, which was awesome, by the way. Top Gun Maverick, really loved that. Me and my dad both loved it. Anyway, so the rest of the day, the whole week has been good apart from that. And then I thought, well, while I'm getting the mirror done, I wanted the ledge on the boot, one of the, the two pieces of string that kind of pull it up when the boot goes up. One of the clips for it had broken, so I got that replaced. That was only £15 to get that sorted out. But anyway, the whole bill with the labour in was £300, and that was before I'd even got to the MOT and service in a week or so's time. It's a half service, about £200 or whatever it is, and the MOT's £50, and then whatever comes out the bottom of the MOT. Now I'm hoping the MOT isn't going to have much in it, because I cleared the entire slate of not called warnings. What are they called? Having a mind blank, people. Anyway, you get the minors, don't you? You get minors, and then you get the major ones you've got to fix. And I cleared all of the minors off of the sheet last year. So I'd be very surprised if something falls out of the back end of the MOT. The only thing I can think of is that it seems to be that every year the headlamps need a bit of a buff, because there seems to be a little bit of moisture getting in there now, and they sort of cloud over a little bit. So I suspect they might want to do that. But I'm hoping nothing too major drops out of it. So anyway, it's just been a very expensive week. Between that and going to the pictures, I've not been at the pictures in so long, and every time I go, I think, how the fuck have I just spent that much money? Could have watched it at home for nothing in a year's time. You know what I mean? Or for, £5 on bloody Sky or something. I have to say, though, it was one of those films, Top Gun Maverick, that was really well worth seeing at the pictures for the boom sound that you got for the planes and all that malarkey. It was, and the music and all that sort of stuff is superb, really, really good. So I mean, I can highly recommend seeing that at the pictures. It takes a lot for me to go and see a film at the pictures now, because I just get I just don't like it. I've gone right off it. I just don't think it's much of an experience anymore. It's like you just sort of shuffled into a room, people are let to, I mean, to be fair to the people in there this time, but there was only about 5 of us in a massive theatre. I mean, there was, because we were left it till a few weeks later, a few weeks since it had started showing. But, it winds me up when it tells you right at the beginning of the film, like, turn your fucking phone off, don't let it, and still you get people with the phones on all the way through films. And then, why do they sell cheesy fucking nachos in a picture house? You know what I mean? It fucking stinks. If you sat next to someone with cheesy nachos, bloody hellfire, crunching their way through that, or... I just don't find it very, very fun, people. That's all I'm saying. I'd rather sit and watch it on my 55-inch telly at home, unless it's something that's really going to, give me some sort of oomph when I get in there. And Top Gun was definitely one of those. So, we'll see what the next one is. The last time I went to the pictures was in Edinburgh when I went up to visit Aaron Brew, my son, and we went to see the new Suicide Squad, which was superb. Not the old one with Will Smith, the new one that's just been, with the one that Peacemaker came out the back of, which was absolutely brilliant as well. But, I mean, if I hadn't been up with Aaron Brew and he hadn't been so intent on seeing that, I probably would never have seen that at the pictures, but it was really, really good. Yeah, funny as anything. So is Peacemaker, to be fair. Anyway, I have every intention of getting some recording done for you guys. The lost episode of Elden Ring, which I still haven't posted up, where I respect my character and change my armour and everything, that's still waiting there, ready to go up. I didn't want to post it up by itself without recording more Elden Ring to follow it, because then you give people an expectation there's going to be some more episodes, and I haven't recorded any yet, so I've hung on to it so that once I've got a few more, I'll put them all up and we'll have a few days run of it. So I know exactly where, I can remember exactly where I am. I've ended up in a cave with, it's the first cave I've found that's got 2 entrances to boss fights. And it's not the same boss in each one. It's the first time I've found 2 bosses in the same area, and one's just up to the left and one's down to the right. I've defeated one of them, and I need to go back and sort the other one out, which I nearly had, actually. Fucking Sly hit me, even though I had health and stuff left, little bastard. Anyway, you'll see all of that, people. I've got every intention of recording some, and I will get it up as soon as I do. And I've still in my brain got, I will record something else to go alongside it. I just haven't decided what it's going to be. Could have been Pillars of Eternity that I've got sat there just to do a few episodes on. Anyway, should we talk about some games, people? Xbox and Bethesda games. I might need me glasses for this, people. How long have I been talking for just to get going? Not too bad. It's not too bad for an intro, people. I think the intro last time was about bloody half an hour. Oh, I'd share it with you people if I could. Right. Here we go. So the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. This is just the main showcase, not the extended one. I haven't actually watched the extended one as yet. So it opened up with Redfall, and there was a fair bit of time that Redfall, which is a new franchise from the makers of Dishonored and such like, and Prey. I've never been a huge fan. I've talked about this in previous podcasts and vlogs. I've always struggled to love their games. I get some joy out of them, but there's always something that makes me go away and never finish them. With Dishonored, I got this close to finishing the first Dishonored, and then I just drifted away from it. I think I got to the very last level where the guy takes you out on the boat and you end up at the big sort of last big level and stuff. I can't remember why I never ended up finishing it, but I just drifted away, never came back to it. And then Dishonored 2, I never even got that far. I did play it for a bit, but it was like there was no hook. There's nothing there that was exciting me to go back. Like, I didn't find anything exciting in the environment or what have you. It just felt a little bit flat. I think Aaron Brew felt the same way when I chatted to him about it. So the Dishonored games weren't bad. It's just that for some reason I didn't click with them the way that I wanted to. Then there was Prey, which I was really excited about because this was a long while after we'd ever had any sort of Dead Space going on. And then Prey was great to start with, and then it just got really, really samey. Like, all the enemies were just different shapes of black blob. It was like they weren't interesting enough. And on top of that, I might have even seen it through, but on top of that, every time you went through a fucking big round door, you had a massive loading screen. It's like, it's like with Dead Space, however they worked their magic, when you passed through a door on the ship, it just, there was a little animation and then it opened, you're into the next part, and the way they did it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it was just seamless. No loading screens, you were in there, and if it needed to load anything, it did it on the door opening. And so it was just really painful navigating area to area, and really painful to navigate around just in general. So I drifted away from that in the end as well. Although there is a lot of good in these games. I'm not trying to say that they're shit or anything. It's just that there was too much frustration in there, or not enough hook for me to see them through. However, Redfall does look like a lot of fun. It does that they are going down a different route with Redfall. It's I think 4. I think it's 4-player co-op if you want to play co-op, but you can play it on your own if you want to. There is a campaign to play through. We don't know at this point if it's going to be one of these ongoing long-term franchises that just keeps getting fed more and more stuff and changes and adapts as time goes on. Is it going to be a game as a service? But whenever they've not said that it is, for me, I think I'd prefer it if it was just, like a Left 4 Dead or whatever, Back 4 Blood that was more recent. I think it's going to be more of a similar ilk to those, and it'll run its course, and then they might do a second one or a follow-up or something. But we'll see. It could be that they want to be in the world of, we just want to make content for this thing we wrote and just keep updating it. But I have to say that I thought it looked fun. I thought it wasn't when we first saw the trailer, the big CGI trailer way back, nobody really knew what it was going to be or what the gameplay was going to be. It is a first-person shooter type game, and it's vampires that you're hunting down and killing. There's loads of different vampire enemy types, and it was really cool. The action looked really, really cool, really, really fun. Characters looked fun, weapons looked fun. They were stabbing them through the heart, and they were going, so this glow shattering dust thing that happens when you kill them off. So it does look really, really fun. Whether it's something I'll play, it's not really the sort of thing I would play, but it does, for people that are into that sort of game, it does look really, really good. It then, you'll have seen some of that footage, if I've managed to smelt it all together for you. I'll try and find the clips that were on the actual showcase so you can see what I was seeing. I mean, a lot of you'll have seen it, some of you won't. But yeah, I mean, I thought it looked really, really cool. I don't think it was doing anything particularly special so far as a first person goes, shooter wise. It's just a super cool environment with super cool enemies, and you've got the stab through the heart thing going on, which was really cool. But how much more there is to it than that, I don't know. Next up, we had Hollow Knight Silksong, which is a follow-up to, you guessed it, Hollow Knight. I'm enjoying this beer a bit much today. I played, I think, Hollow Knight on the Switch. I played maybe an hour's worth of it, and I was enjoying it, but then I kind of just went off the Switch entirely. I didn't play very much of it. But I think, if I remember rightly, I'm sure Aaron Brew told me that he loved that game and he's finished it and seen it through on the Switch, I think. He might have done it on PlayStation, because it is on PlayStation as well, I think. But yeah, I'm sure he did it. I'm sure he finished it off, and he said it was almost like a side 2D sort of Dark Souls type thing. Got a massive mind blank there. So he kind of got that feel from it. That's it's like a 2D. That had sort of challenge to it. So it is. I mean, it got all sorts of awards and stuff. The first Hollow Knight as well. I'm assuming that Hollow Knight. I mean, I haven't checked any of this stuff out. I don't think the people that make Hollow Knight are a Microsoft studio. They might be. I also feel like nearly everything on this. We should preempt this, actually, or I should have done, by saying that Microsoft had already said that everything that they were going to show at this showcase was going to release in the next 12 months, with the exception of one thing, which was just an announcement toward the tail end of it. I felt like nearly everything we're about to mention was on Game Pass. So if you've got Game Pass, all of this will just be there for your $10.99 a month or whatever it is we're paying now. So yeah, anyway, Hollow Knight Silksong looks, from what we saw, as beautiful and brilliant as the first one. You can only assume it's going to match it in, I can't imagine that they're going to get much wrong with it, knowing what they did right with the first one. So, but you say that. I mean, Ni no Kuni 2 wasn't as good as, anywhere near as good as 1, was it? But it wasn't by any means a bad game. But I'm saying that actually. I mean, it is true to say that most sequels probably don't live up to the expectation of the first. But a lot do. Dead Space certainly did with the second one, and then flumped it on the third one. So there are exceptions to the rule out there who learn from the first one and make it even more better, even more uber. Anyway, I guess it's something that I may or may not down the line give it a go. There's another game of a similar it's not a similar world, but of a similar 2D type that does give me a bit of a want to play it. We'll talk about it a bit later on. Next up was a High on Life, which is the first time I'd ever seen this game. I don't feel like this game had ever been mentioned before. Someone can tell me in the comments below if that's not true. But I'd never heard of this High on Life game, which is apparently coming in October 2022, so it's not that far away. I didn't actually give you the release dates for Redfall's coming in 2023. There's no date for it. Hollow Knight Silksong. Well, I haven't written a date down for that, as it happens. High on Life, October 2022. Now, this does look quite interesting, to be fair to it. And this is probably what I liked most about the showcase in itself, was the variety of games that were shown off. There was a lot of different types of game in there for many different types of gamer. And I think this is where for me, this is where Microsoft get it a bit more right than Sony. I realise that not all of these games are Microsoft games, but for me, I feel like from their home studios, I think we're going to get far more variety in the type of game that we get. They're not all going to try and make some form of third-person adventure game, which is what seems to be going on with all of the PlayStation studios. It's all over-the-shoulder third-person adventures of some description. You're either over-the-shoulder fighting zombies, you're over-the-shoulder fighting the infected, you're over-the-shoulder fighting in Japan, you're over-the-shoulder... what else have we got? God of War, you're over the shoulder. It's all third person over the shoulder stuff. So for their big hitters anyway, I'm sure there might be some smaller stuff that I'm not getting in. But, there seems to be a similar format for just about everything they're doing. Microsoft have, for me, I understand there's things like Ratchet and Clank, all right, so I get it. But for me, Microsoft have a lot more of that sort of quirky stuff going on, and I think in the end they'll find huge success with that, especially when it comes to kids and people that aren't into those sort of games that PlayStation are making, of which there'll be many. So I was quite impressed with the range of games, and this particular one called High on Life, it seemed to have a really quirky feel to it, sort of very not cartoony, sort of animated type of look to it. And the weapons that you were using, the gun that you're running around with was talking to you. It seems to be able to convert, or you've got different types of gun that, or it seemed to me that it was the same gun or weapon, but had multiple, you'd build up different ways of using it, had multiple moves that you could attach to it and that sort of stuff. But it could be that you've got different weapons, of course. I'm just going by what I remember seeing. And the gun is talking to you, like the back of the gun's got a mouth and eyes and stuff, and it's talking to you while you're running along, and it's quite funny. So for me, I like that sort of stuff because it's making running around with a weapon quite fun. I seem to recall a much darker way of doing that. Oh God, I'm going to forget the name of the game. What was it called? Shadow something. I've got it downstairs. It's the one where the guy goes to hell and he's fighting stuff. And he's got a gun that's effectively alive and it keeps changing to do different things. The feck was it called? Let me know in the comments below. I'll go down and check it later. But yeah, I'm sure it had Shadow in the title. Yeah, and it was a really off-the-wall, fucking dark game. But it was good fun, though. But there was a weapon you used, and the weapon was alive. So I love that sort of stuff, though, because it makes running around with that, as long as they've got enough dialogue to keep it interesting, it's not the same shit over and over again. Anyway, it looked very, very cool. It's coming in October 2022. A Plague Tale Requiem is coming in 2022 as well, so that's not far off. I must play A Plague's Tale. I have not played the first one. This is the sequel to it. It won all sorts of awards, and it is supposed to be a really, really good playthrough. I think that from what I was hearing from other people talking about it after the event, they seem to have introduced more things that you can do in order to navigate round enemies, or I can't talk about it personally because I haven't played the first one, and I can't judge it based on what I saw in the trailer. But there was things like, I think she crawls underneath a table at one point to hide from a guard, and all that sort of. So I think they've added things in so that you can make your way around the world without sort of getting caught as easily as you might have done in the first one. You still have to use I think it's a flame, isn't it, to move the rats away that are always sort of the hordes of rats everywhere. And it does look absolutely gorgeous still. The vibe and the feel of it is still fantastic. I'm sure I downloaded it. I think the Xbox Series X downstairs has got the first one downloaded. It was on Game Pass at the time. I'm sure it must still be there, maybe. So I must play it. I suspect it wouldn't take that long to finish either. It's probably one of those games, straight up story, you get yourself through it. Not dissimilar to Hellblade, I guess, in that respect. It's the very sort of game you can just sit down in maybe one or two sittings and get through, I think. I can't imagine it's going to be that long a game. But so there you go. A Plague's Tale Requiem on its way this year. Forza Motorsport is coming in spring 2023. They don't seem to be giving it a number. Is this? I don't know because I'm not into racing games. I can only assume that either they might be dumping the numbers altogether and just making it a game that is forever updated. Or it is called Forza Motorsport 7 or 8 or whatever the number is for the next one, and they're just not saying the number. But for everything I'm seeing, it just said Forza Motorsport on its way. But again, the Forza games are by far the daddy of racing games now. The recent Gran Turismo that came out got absolutely slaughtered by just about everybody. I think they've managed to do a lot of patches for it, but Gran Turismo used to be a reason to buy a PlayStation. It was the daddy of all racing games, and they stopped doing it, didn't do it for ages. Now that they've brought it back, it's just not up to scratch at all. I don't think it sits well. And I think they were also looking for people to spend money to get the best cars. So in game shopping just to get decent cars, which is just fucking nonsense anyway. So Forza are just on it. Absolutely on it. And that's coming in spring 2023. Flight Simulator was shown off yet again for its 40th anniversary. And Halo Infinite, So there's a 40th anniversary pack, which comes with all of this extra planes and extra gear and stuff. And part of that pack, there also seems to be a Halo Infinite add-on, which was available on the day of the event when they were showing it off. So the minute they showed off actually, I don't know if it was at the minute they showed it or whether it was just there that whole day. But I suspect it became available once the show had ended. So you can fly around in the Halo ships, which was quite cool. And the music was, the music was playing. I assume it will be in the game as well. But it looked very, very cool anyway. If you're into Flight Simulator stuff, it's just another quirky thing to have in there. And it still looks fantastic. Flight Simulator 40th year. It's the oldest franchise I think they've got. Overwatch 2 was also shown off, and it's becoming, it's not becoming, people, because it's a new game. Overwatch 2 will be free to play, people, and I think that's going to be a massive hit. I think a game like Overwatch, I think, kind of had its peak. People might have drifted away from it, New people don't want to spend money to get into it because they're not sure of it. So I think with the free-to-play model that is going to come with Overwatch 2, and then you'll be able to, they'll make their money from you purchasing stuff in the game. You're making yourself look pretty and all that malarkey. And I don't mind it when it's done well. I didn't mind it in Path of Exile. I liked Path of Exile, got really into it. I realised that they pretty much everything you put on looks fucking garbage because they want you to buy the skins and all that sort of stuff. And I don't mind that because the core game mechanics were absolutely superb and the game was massive and I got loads out of that game. I probably spent about £40 or £50 on that game. And it was buying stupid stuff like, really cool outfit and weapon covers. And I think I bought a dog and different kinds of creatures to run around me and stuff like that. So I don't mind the free-to-play model. That's what it is. You get to play for free to an extent. And then if you want to get the cool stuff, just buy bits to add into it. That for me, the best way it's done is by not you buying things that will make the game easier, but you buying things that just make it look cooler and feel better as you play it. I think we come unstuck when, or you can, if you spend £20, you can get this fucking sword that kills everything in one hit. I mean, that's the shit you don't need in those sort of things. So I think it's all really the best way it's done is when it's done with the visual stuff. Anyway, it's coming on free to play October 4th, 2022. Early access though. It's early access, not full launch. Ara History Untold is seems to be. I'm enjoying this a bit much, aren't I? It's one of those world building type games. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but going by the trailer that will be up behind me and all that sort of malarkey, it seems to be one of those games where you decide what the history of this world is. So I assume you create civilizations and, you take them down the Egyptian path or the Roman path and all that sort of stuff. Don't quite know how it all works, but you're almost like a god type creature that just, creates and you build armies, you plant crops, waterways. I'm assuming it's one of those sort of games that does all of that sort of stuff. The trailer looked absolutely gorgeous. And it's one of those sort of games I keep thinking I'd be quite keen to try out, actually. But I feel like if I tried it, I'd get totally addicted to it. Because suddenly, I'd sit down for an hour and I'd realise that a week had gone. Anyway, it did look rather cool. It didn't seem to have a date, but I could be wrong about that. I didn't write it down if there was one. Elder Scrolls Online. I tell you, that's done all right for itself, hasn't it? High Isle is coming. This is a DLC for it, or an expansion, whatever you want to call it. The High Isle is coming next week, June the 21st. And you're heading to somewhere that the Elder Scrolls has never taken you before, which is the Breton homeworld. Well, I say home world. Breton's home land, I guess would be a better word. I think this game has done so well for itself. It's just unbelievable. I remember when this was first announced after Skyrim, and I was just kind of like, I didn't know what to make of it. I just thought doesn't feel right at all. I remember trying it and feeling like I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite understand. The battle mechanics didn't feel the same, but knowing now what I know about MMO type stuff, it's sort of, I get why the action differs and, but it's done superbly well for itself. And all it's done is get better and better and better. And at the same time, it's not trapped you in the same areas. It has built upon the world of the Elder Scrolls and Skyrim, and the lands have been taking it to places you've never seen before, just like this is doing. I think it's just like, I mean, Christ knows how much money they've made, but this game has just been nothing but a success. It's absolutely brilliant what they've done with that game. Anyway, that is coming on June the 21st. So if you're into the Elder Scrolls Online, get yourself pre-ordering that or buying it on the day. I tend not to do pre-ordering myself. Fallout is now 25 years old. Blimey, people. To celebrate, Fallout 76 expansion, The Pitt, is coming on September the 22nd. No, it's not. It's coming in September 2022. 22's in that, people. I haven't actually got a date. I don't think. No, it just says September 2022. I've not been into Fallout 76 at all. That game, I'll give it props for... It had a terrible start, didn't it? I mean, it was just awful. It got absolutely slammed for being not right whatsoever, and it's taken it quite a long time to get it settled. But people seem to be playing it, and they seem to want more for it. It seems to be somewhat of a success now, and I feel like, although it was a bit more of a slow burner than the Elder Scrolls Online, I think the Elder Scrolls Online had a far better start than Fallout 76 did. They have kept pummeling they've kept pummeling money into it, they've kept pummeling dev work into it, and they've kept making it better and better and better, and I have to give people props when they do that. It's never going to be for me because I don't do online gaming, it's not really my thing. However, for those people that are into Fallout 76, the expansion, the Pitt, is coming in September 2022. Forza Horizon 5 has got a Hot Wheels expansion pack, which looks really fun actually and really cool. I bet kids will love that. If you've got kids and you've got Forza Horizon, they'll absolutely love that Hot Wheels. It's like car doing loops and all that on those tracks and stuff. It looks absolutely mental. I mean, again, Forza Horizon... It's just the Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport both have been simultaneously awesome, haven't they? I mean, it's just incredible and I think they're both British studios, aren't they? They've both been doing an incredible job, and one of those studios is making the new Fable, so I've got massive high hopes that they get that right as well. That obviously is a way off yet though, because it wasn't part of this year's plans or announcements. Ark is coming in 2023. I don't know what this game is, people, but I'll tell you what it has. It has Vin Diesel riding a dinosaur. Do you really need anything else in a game? I think not. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what this game's about, people. It seems to be set in the prehistoric world. I can only imagine that you're going to have to... It looks like a survival game to me, but I can only... With Vin Diesel involved in it, there's got to be action and shit in it for sure. But yeah, I see this punted from time to time, and Vin Diesel always pitches up on the top of a dinosaur. But there you go. It's coming in 2023. Scorn finally has a release date, people. It is coming on the 21st of October this very year. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the fuck this game's about. It's the goriest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. But I don't know what's going on. The guy's ripping an umbilical cord out of himself, and then he's got some sort of living weapon that makes all sort of slopping noises when you try and use it. I mean, I don't think this game's going to be for me. Yeah, but it does look really, really good as a game. I mean, it looks really, really good. It might be one of those things that everyone raves about, and I'll go, right, I need to give it a go, and I get right into it. But I honestly can't see me playing any kind of horror game until the Callisto Protocol now. I mean, I'm just so excited for that game. Please land in December. Please don't delay. Unless if you're not ready, I'll let it slide if you're not ready. February. I'm sure February used to be a Dead Space date. February, was it not February when Dead Space used to pop up as a launch? I think Dead Space 2 was the beginning of a year in a February or something. So, if they do delay, just make it a few months, you know what I mean? But I'm hoping. You are LLC Cool C Plays. Like, don't you be hexing it by saying in the comments that there's no way that game's coming out in December. I mean, they are adamant that game's coming out on the 2nd of December, and I put my faith behind them, I'm telling you. Come on. Just one game not be delayed. Hey, but I would rather it was right and ready. Anyway, Scorn, it does look like it's going to be right up some people's street, but I've got no idea what the fuck's going on every time I watch the trailer. Like, what the hell? Is it an alien ship, or is it hell? I think it's meant to be an alien ship of some kind. You're some sort of... I don't know what you are. No idea what you are, people. I should do some homework, really, before I do these things. Let me know in the comments below what you make of it. Here's one, Flintlock. The Siege of Dawn is coming in 2023 for early access. So when full access is, I've no idea. Early access can be like 6 months, and other times it feels like it's years. You know what I mean? But anyway, I think, what was its name? The one where you're under the water, and I played it. Subnautica. That felt like it was in early access for about 5 years, that game. Anyway, when I first saw it, it reminded me of Glenn. No, what am I trying to say? Oh, I can't remember the name of the bloody RPG now. It begins with a G anyway. Anyway, you know the one I mean, people. You'll be screaming it at the screen. It'll come back to me. But anyway, I thought it was like the follow-up to that. But it's not. It's an RPG of its own ilk. And you've got the flintlock guns and you've got magics and the movement seems similar. It looks like a beautiful world. Is it an open world? I don't think we know that yet. But it's coming in 2023 apparently, and well, in early access anyway. And it does look really, really nice. I think it's not a massive developer doing it, but a sort of a mid-range developer doing it. I don't want to say indie because it's not. I don't think it's an indie developer. It's sort of mid. I think it's Focus Entertainment and people like that are doing it. So that I quantify them as maybe I don't know, a double A instead of a triple A, something like that. But it did look very cool though. Minecraft Legends, so Minecraft's getting another, well, I'm assuming that's a DLC and it's not a whole new game. Minecraft Legends is coming in 2023. Minecraft's never been my thing, but it is globally massive. It just makes so much money, that game. To be fair, I say things aren't my thing. I've never, as far as I remember, played Minecraft. So maybe if I played it, I might change my mind. But after watching other people play it, it's like, not for me. Lightyear Frontier is coming in 2023. This was this sort of trailer that the guy lands on a planet in a massive sort of mech suit, almost like Titanfall, and then starts mining and building and crash. So I think it's a survival game, but you've got this big mech suit and stuff on it. Looked really cool. Not my thing. Survival games are just, I find them really tedious. The minute it says, you need to eat, you're going to die if you don't eat something in the next hour. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. And it just happens over and over again. That sort of shit winds me up in games. So whether it's got that in, I have no idea. But it did look, you obviously go down there and you're going to build a world for yourself, or a homestead for yourself, and then presumably build something on top of that and bring people in. I don't know how deep it goes, but it did look very cool. Gunfire Reborn is coming in October 2022. This is a four-player co-op. 4-player co-op cartoony shooter is what I've got down. Again, looks really, really good fun. I don't do co-op, so it's not something I'm going to be playing, but it's done in a very sort of that sort of cool cartoon, not anime, but just cool cartoon sort of vibe to it. I always find it hard to describe different cartoon animation types. I'm sure they've all got their own name. But anyway, it did look really, really cool. And the characters were all I think one of them was a cat and the other one was so they're weird little characters and stuff. And it looks like it's a super cool shooting type game. So Gunfire Reborn, October 2022. Here's the one. Here's the side-scrolling 2D one that's got my interest right up, people. I really like the look of this. The last case of Benedict Cumberbatch. No, it's not Cumberbatch, people. We'll start that again. The last case of Benedict Fox is coming in spring 2023. And I love the vibe of this game, right? I love ye old stuff, right? I love Victorian era type serial killer things. And I love 20s, 30s sort of stuff, 1920s and 30s, that sort of stuff as well. So the minute I saw this, which seemed to be a bit of a cross of it all, and then, because he's driving one of these sort of 1920s cars and skidding around the roads, I think it's a little cutscene. But the game itself has got such a slick look to it. And he's got the action, it is side to side, but the world looks absolutely gorgeous. He's running from monsters, and he's from what I could tell from the trailer, it seemed to be that he was jumping into his father's dreams or what had happened or something as well. And there's all sorts of quirky stuff going on. You don't have to run away all the time. He was shooting the enemies at one point, and you obviously need to traverse the world and all that sort of stuff. It looked proper cool. I was like, I'm definitely going to play that. When I saw it, I thought I just love everything about the vibe of that game. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out. Spring 2023. We'll see. We'll see if that gets delayed or not. But obviously, a smaller dev did it. But I mean, I just thought, unlike Hollow Knight, which I mentioned earlier on, which isn't really kind of my. I didn't feel the vibe for it. This, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to try that. So yeah, the last case of Benedict Fox. There you go. Hopefully, I'll have had some footage up behind me that you'll have got your teeth into. I don't know, like. I love it when a company comes up with, they just find a vibe that I just go, oh, you know what I mean? You just want to be there. It was like that with Dead Space, you know what I mean? It's like that with Resident Evil, I suppose, from way back. You just think, oh God, I've got to be in that world and just try it, you know. And it doesn't happen often. Like, you know, most of the time it's just like, well, that looks good, and I'll give it a go. But every now and then you see something, you go, oh, fancy being in that world. Give that a go, yeah. The Last of Us, that was another one. Anyway, yeah, super excited to see more of that. As Dusk Falls is coming on July the 15th of this very year. Yeah, this is the graphic novel sort of style one. I say graphic novel, it doesn't look like a graphic novel. The way they've done it, it's a story. Yeah, you basically play your way through the story, but it's done in this sort of everything's sort of still images that are sort of moving around each other, and things are happening to make it engage with you more than just a still picture would. And then you've got decisions to make, and you've got great acting going on, and you know, and there's weird things happening in this place, and it not the sort of thing I would play. But if you're into playing through an adventure that's all about making decisions and seeing how the story goes and all that sort of stuff, then it's going to be right up a lot of people's alley. Whether it's as it doesn't seem to be a point and click like the Walking Dead and stuff was, but it is a decision making thing, from by all accounts, from what we can see from the trailer. So I think it will do well for people that want to see themselves through a good story and adventure. A Nakara Bladepoint is coming on June the 23rd, 2022 to Xbox, although it did say on console for the very first time, so whether it's actually coming to PlayStation as well, I've got no idea, but it is coming to the Xbox on June 23rd, 2022, and it is a sort of it looks like a samurai type battle royale with up to 60 players. So if you're into the battle royale stuff and going down the more melee route than the shooter route, which is probably why it's doing so well, because I think most of the battle royals are all to do with guns and shiz. So a 60 people melee one, I think it's no wonder it's done well for itself on PC. So it does look really cool, but it's again not my thing, the old battle royals online. June 23rd, 2022. Nakara Bladepoint. Here was a little cute one that came along. Pentiment is coming in 2022. Didn't seem to have a date on it, but it's coming this year. And it was, again, it's a story game. So you play your way through the story. Looks like you get to choose what your questions are, what your answers are, and which path to take. And it's all done in this really cool 16th century art book style, or reading book style, if you like, with the artwork in it. And it looks beautiful. The music was beautiful. It was really loads of character to it. I can see it being super popular with people. We make an assumption that people just like games where you've got this intense pressure on you all the time to kill something, do something, and not die, right? But there are games out there, people. There was one, what did I play? Not Ace Ventura, that's Pet Detective, Steve. There was one called Adam Chura, or Adam Venture, was it? Something like that. And I played it once because it was free. And it was like an Indiana Jones thing, but you never were shooting, it was all about the puzzles and solving the puzzles, and, you know, it was all that sort of stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And this is the sort of thing I think Pentiment's going to be, not the same type of, not playing the same way, but it's the same thing where you can play through this world, this historic world with factual events going on. And you can sort of play through these little different stories that are going on within it. And it looked really, really beautiful. I love seeing little games like that pop up. Will I play it? Probably not. But I know there'll be a lot of people out there that's the sort of very thing that they'll get into gaming for, because there's a lot of people in the world that like reading, And this is the sort of stuff that will interest them in the world of gaming. There's huge amounts of people out there that don't like fighting games, don't like violent games or action games or kiddish games. What's its name? Kingdom Come Deliverance, which was a factually based RPG, did super well for itself. There was no, they didn't take any real poetic license in that game. They kept everything as down to earth and as real as it would have been in those times, and played through the factual events of what happened. And this is an even more factual version an even more cut down version of that, so far as there's no worry about dying or fencing or any of that sort of stuff. By what we've seen so far, it is very much like just play through this world and through these stories via this art style that they've come up with. I was really, really impressed with it. Super, super cute, cool and cute. Pentiment 2022. Grounded is finally getting launched as a full game. I thought it was a full game already, but apparently not, people. Apparently it is still early access, and that's why I was saying earlier, it feels like some games have been in early access for years, because I'm sure that game's been in early access for 2 years. At least, because it came out at the launch of the console, didn't it? Anyway, it's good to see it. It's been super popular. And I'm trying to remember now. Well, it's on Game Pass anyway, so you can play it if you've got Game Pass straight off the bat, and it'll have all the content on it, so far as I know. September 2022, the full game will launch, and I assume it's going to have more. It doesn't say, I don't think, but I assume it will have more content than was there in the early access. So really, really keen to see just how well that does. But it's been super, super popular. It's for those that don't know what Grounded is, it's the one where it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You get shrunk down and you've got to survive the garden effectively, and different environment, fight the creatures in the gardens and all that sort of stuff. And it's been really, really, really popular. A little silent, unexpected hit, I suppose we'll call it. Ereban Shadow Legacy is coming in 2023. I'm trying to remember what this is now. Third person. Yeah, I was confused about this one because it looks cool actually. It's like it initially starts with a top-down view, and I thought it was a top-down game. But the more the trailer goes or the gameplay footage goes on, it looks more like you're actually third person, behind the third person and managing that way. But it looks super cool. You can move around like a shadow. Literally like black smoke moving around the place, and then appear and stealth attack people and stuff. It looks really cool. Move around, shadow form, stealth action, cool style fight. Robot. It seems to be fighting sort of robotic creatures and stuff, so it's sort of a futuristic thing, but she is using a sword and stuff to do it all. Anyway, it looks super cool. I'll try and pull out a piece of I think the trailer was, I'm not going to talk for long enough to see the whole trailer, but I'll try and pull out the piece of footage. Excuse me, people, that's not very professional. I'll try and pull out the piece of footage that is, at least shows her using the sword and third person sort of style. But it could be it's got different style or different angles and views depending on what you're doing at the time, or it could have been that the stealth kill was an animation in itself, but it didn't look like it because she sort of runs away afterwards. So maybe it changes, maybe the camera angle changes on depending on what you're trying to do at the time. If you're traversing the world, it might be different to when you're actually stealth attacking or in an area. But I got the impression the more I watched it that it is a third person type game, and that the top-down stuff was probably just panning down onto the area. Anyway, it looks super cool. Ereban. Can't see now. Ereban, I think it is. Shadow Legacy. 2023, people. Ooh, Diablo 4 cometh, people. I'm so excited for Diablo 4. It's coming in 2023. They haven't said any more than that. It's just coming in 2023. It's a little bit of a lie to say that everything... in theory, they should be saying by summer of 2023, because if they're saying in the next 12 months for all of the stuff they're announcing, and we make it to next November and Diablo launches, then it wasn't really within the next 12 months, was it? Anyway, we get the idea. This looks so good. You're talking about open world, you're talking about riding on a horse and steeds, rather than running everywhere. The end of the game is just kind of the beginning, because you then get all of the dungeony stuff you can do after you finish. They're talking about supporting it for years and years and years with new content and stuff. I think this is going to be a massive hit. I think it's going to be a game that is continuously added to really, really well for a long time. Now that this studio is a Microsoft studio, or it's becoming one, I think Microsoft, they're going to want to just pummel money into stuff like that and keep it a live product until such time as they make a Diablo 5. Because I know they did the seasons with Diablo 3, but I think they, without any doubt, could have extended the lifetime of that game to the point where new content was arriving regularly to keep people coming back to it. But yeah, Diablo 4, did I say Diablo 4 there? Diablo 3. But Diablo 4, yeah, I think this is going to be a massive success, and I can't wait to play it. It's got all of the core classes that you would expect. The way that the visuals look, they look more realistic, I'm going to say, rather than what Diablo 3 looked like, which was more of a cartoon aesthetic. So the aesthetic in this one is far more lifelike, much like, I suppose, Path of Exile and stuff like that. So they've gone for that visual aspect of it, and for me, it works. I feel like it's going to work. I feel like Diablo 3 did its thing. I love the aesthetic of Diablo 3, but I feel like this is... I think, if I remember rightly, I think they got a lot of grief for making that aesthetic in Diablo 3. I actually liked it, but I get why some people would have been frustrated with it not being more lifelike. But for me, I loved it. But I'm not disappointed that it's not the same aesthetic in this one. I actually kind of like the fact it is more of a lifelike dynamic to it, an aesthetic to it, especially with what consoles can do now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Diablo 4 2023, people. It's not far away at all. Sea of Thieves even, Season 7. I've not got a date on that for some reason. Anyway, it's either here or it's coming very soon. Again, not a game that I've been into at all, but another game that you've got to tip your hat and give props to, because it was one of those that was shown off at around the launch time of the Xbox Series X. I'm saying that now. But Sea of Thieves on Xbox One, it must have been. Anyway, I remember when it was first shown off, it got a lot of flack for like, oh, that's never going to be successful. That's just like a shit Assassin's Creed Black Flag or something. And it's been super, super successful and super popular. And, the whole multiplayer part of that it's just got life in it all the time. And they have done nothing but keep feeding it more and more DLC. They keep putting more and more content on there for people to go back in and be interested in. I remember when the Pirates of the Caribbean Jack Sparrow stuff went onto it and all that sort of stuff. They've kept it fresh. They've kept it with stuff you want to go back and do. If you've kind of finished everything you were doing and you go away for a couple of months, suddenly you come back and there's more. So you've got to tip your hat and give props to studios for doing it. So yeah, hat off to them. I've never tried it, but super popular. Ravenlok is coming in 2023. This actually looks really cute and cool. I like the aesthetic of it. I guess it kind of reminded me a little bit of what's the one I've got installed downstairs that I played a little bit off of the PlayStation. She's got the one thing and can't remember now. But it kind of it's not like that as such, but it kind of reminded me of that cuteness and that sort of... what it made me think of was kind of this sort of girl character falling into an almost Alice in Wonderland type world with all these weird creatures. She's trying to navigate the world, try to battle the creatures. I'm not sure how the battle systems work. At one point she's sort of fighting with a sword and a shield and battling this monster, and on the other hand she's sort of got her fists up ready to punch something. So I don't know whether you're collecting items as you go or whether you just get items to use in certain battles and areas and then you're kind of doing something else in another area. But it looks super cool, super cute, great aesthetic, great creatures. I think there's going to be a really good lore in the game, with the wacky characters, and I had no idea what the story is, but Ravenlok looks really, really cool. Again, probably from an indie studio, but it looked really cool. Cocoon is coming in 2023. What was this one? Oh, this was, yeah. Now this was from the makers of Limbo and Inside, or from the creator of Limbo and Inside. And I know both of those games got awards coming out of their ass, people. They did super well, both of those games. I'm trying to remember if I actually tried them, and I don't think I did. I don't think I tried either of them. But they got loads of awards, and they were super popular games. This is of a very similar ilk, and the visuals and the way that you're running around this world, everything just looks like it does in the other two games from a format. Is that true? Now that I'm saying that, I think that Limbo and Inside might be 2D. This one felt a bit more 3D because you were sort of moving toward and away from the screen as well as side to side. So it could be that this is actually of a similar ilk, but three-dimensional instead of two. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong there, but from what I remember about Inside and Limbo, I think they were 2D side to sides. So this seemed to be more of a three-dimensional one, but it's got all of that quirky stuff going on. Really cute little character. Puzzles to solve, world to traverse, all that sort of stuff. Look really, really slick, really, really nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of that. Wolong Fallen Dynasty is coming in early 2023. A action-packed story of a nameless soldier fighting for survival where demons plague the three kingdoms. God, I hate it when demons plague the three kingdoms. It gets right on me wick. So I'm glad Wolong's coming along to sort it out. To be honest, I couldn't make out head and tail of what this game's going to be, because it was just a big film clip effectively. So very hard to tell what it was meant to be. I can only assume it's going to be some sort of sword fighty actiony type thing, but in what format it's taking, we couldn't really tell from the trailer. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's coming early 2023. They had a big woo on the front that they wanted more Japanese stuff on the Xbox, and they've now managed to get Persona 3, 4, and 5. And they are coming on the 21st of October 22. So they're coming on the 21st of October this year. All of the 3 games to the Xbox. However, that said, it's not just coming to the Xbox, because I did hear after this that it is also coming to the PlayStation, and I think the Switch as well, if I remember rightly, or was that not confirmed yet? But I'd be very surprised if it doesn't hit the Switch. So it seems to be a 3-pack set of the 3 games, 3, 4, and 5, and it's coming on the 21st of the 10th this very year, people. I bet Persona. Which one was it? Persona 4. Yeah, it was Persona 4 that I played. And I played the ass out of that game, people. I think I played that on the Vita. I'm always positive I played that on the Vita. Am I getting confused? No, I couldn't have done. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, I played the 4th, and I played it. I put a lot of hours into it as well. Cracking game, but I haven't tried 5. They wheeled out. Well, they didn't wheel him out like Hannibal Lecter on a trolley. But the rumours of Hideo Kojima making a game exclusively for Xbox is true, and he came on camera and basically chatted away about the fact that he had been wanting to make this kind of game for a long time. Technology is now there to do it, and Xbox wanted to back him doing it, so he's really excited to get on with it. Wouldn't tell us anything about what it was, but he did say that it was to do with the cloud. So that immediately puts me off, because the cloud just annoys me, people, anyway, just in general. But like all things, Kojima will come up with something awesome, I'm sure. And finally, from the Xbox thing, Starfield. Starfield, which we knew was coming in 2023 because it got delayed. It was supposed to be 11/11/22, wasn't it? But it got delayed. And that's fine. I'd rather it was right. Certainly a game like that as well. We all know what kind of a fucking fuck nugget Skyrim was on the PlayStation 3, for example, when it first hit that. Now, I've got to say, there was a lot of people who were like, there was a mixed bag. Some people felt like the visuals weren't as awesome as they should be. Other people were saying the lip sync wasn't right. Other people were saying, there was a lot of sort of digs at it. I get it, right? You can't expect a game where it's giving you 1,000 planets to visit to look like The Last of Us Part 2, right? It's not fucking... You can't do it, people, right? So there's no point in even trying to compare a game of that magnitude to, those sort of graphic qualities. I thought the graphics looked awesome. I thought the planet... If you watch it, always watch these things after the stream. Go back and watch them again, because when they're streaming live, the visuals are all over the place. You can't see what it looks like properly until it's not live anymore, until it's a proper rendered video. And once it's a rendered video, go and watch it again. But for me, I thought it looked fantastic. Character models were, for me, better than they've ever been from Bethesda. The key characters that were talking to you, some of them looked a lot richer in the facials and stuff than others. So I feel like some of them are just in-world characters that you chat to on and off, and others are sort of, I don't know, almost sort of inbuilt story people that you speak to. But for me, it all looked amazing. The major cities looked amazing. The planet areas looked amazing. The ships, you can customize your own ships as well as your own homesteads. Build your own villages. You can build your own laboratories on planets and staff them with people, which presumably means that they'll do all your mining for you to give you all the stuff to then build your ships and make your weapons and all that sort of stuff. They've really gone all out with what you can do in this thing. And I think a lot of people were kind of put off by the fact that he said there's about 1,000 planets you can go and visit. But you've got to bear in mind that not every planet's going to be a game of Skyrim, you know what I mean? Or Fallout. Like, some planets will just be for mining resources and battling specific creature types. I'm hoping there's some surprises on all planets. But, and they are talking about procedurally generated things as well. So if you've got procedurally generated characters and monsters and all that sort of stuff, they're being created dynamically as the world unfolds. And this is how No Man's Sky did that sort of stuff. But for me, I loved everything that I saw, pretty much. I wasn't a massive fan of the spacesuit that the guy was walking around in. I thought it was a little bit... I don't know. With the other stuff, I mean, there might be a reason it looked that way, but the other stuff that they've done, kind of Fallout looks the way it looks because it's all based in the 60s. You've got, the way that works, it kind of just works. But with a game like this, where it is actually set in the future and stuffs, I felt like the spacesuit looked a little bit 1960s, you know what I mean? It looked a little bit like it come out of Fallout rather than it being a futuristic suit. That said, it could be your beginning suit, and you always start with a shit suit in most games, and then you get the better suits as you make them yourself, and you all that sort of stuff. But it looks spectacular. Todd Howard, he took us into so many different things of what you can do. Also, you can't, not just making your own ship, you can take it into space and you can fly around shooting the shit out of other spaceships. We don't quite know what the in-depth parts of that are, what the hooks are to keep you going doing that. I suspect maybe when you shoot them down, you'll get components from them, or there might be a way of, maybe you need to protect the planet or stuff like that. It feels to me like it might be more of a, in Fallout, where it would say, your encampment's being attacked. Maybe it's a bit like that, where it pops up and says, your planet's being attacked, they need help defending it and stuff like that. Could be things like that going on. So, the one thing that the one thing they clarified was that you can't fly your ship from space manually onto the planet. So I've not seen footage of what that means. I can only assume that you get to a certain... I don't know. You must... Because he said you can fly anywhere on the planet, anywhere you're looking. So I can only assume that you would place a pointer on the planet and then go to the planet. It will take you to that point. And that's fine. I get it, because I feel like once you've flown in and out of a planet a couple of times, it probably becomes a bit tedious anyway. That said, it would have been nice to be given the option of flying into the planet and flying out. But I get it. From what Todd Howard's saying, he's saying, well, for the amount of work it would have taken to get that in there, for the payoff that it gives you, which isn't huge, we went with spending the time making the world itself more interesting and better to spend time on. So I get it, you know, I get it. I get why they've done it. Who knows? Maybe they'll patch it so you can. But for me, you know, No Man's Sky, you can fly off the planet's surface and not, you know. But, you know, it's a very different game, even though it's doing similar things. It's certainly not doing it the visual spectacular that Starfield's going to be doing it as. And there it is as we talk about it, people. But yeah, super excited for it, people. Can't wait to get my hands on it, and I will be playing it on the channel. Faux show. I hope it's not too deeply into 2023. They do seem to be keeping the window open for themselves. They won't give us a date. For me, unless they've decided to make a major change of some description, I don't see why it would be late in the year, because, you know, they were very adamant 11/11/22, and then it was like, we need a bit more time. So I don't know. I maybe fancy springtime, March or April, maybe something like that. See how we go though. So that was it for the Xbox Bethesda. I thought it was a good showcase. It wasn't a spectacular showcase. There wasn't anything that sort of went, holy fuck, where did that come from? I didn't know that was getting released. But we were kind of pre-warned of that, because it was like, this is all going to happen this year. So there was a lot of titles missing, but that's why they were missing. No Avoweds, no Fables, no, you know, blah, Hellblade 2s and that sort of stuff, because they're not happening this coming 12 months. The only other things that I was going to talk about now, because I haven't actually sat and watched any of the other shows, like I didn't actually watch the Capcom one, I didn't actually watch the Square Enix one, but the things that have fallen out of there were that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 and 3, but Part 2 specifically was shown off. Did they actually give a date? I think it's next year, isn't it? Check my notes. No, I didn't actually. I've not got it written down, but it said, I think, oh yeah, they did. They said it's next winter for the second part. So not this winter, next winter. So it's a couple of years away, but year and a half. But good to know that there's actually a solid-ish date on it. You know, might get postponed, but you know, it's got a ballpark of where they're hoping to land it. It's going to be a massive success without any shadow of a doubt. From what we're seeing, it looks like it's very much more of the same. They have quite clearly now got a path they can just do. I mean, there was a lot of changed in the first one anyway from the original Final Fantasy VII. So they've just got a blank book now. They can just write their own story on, and that seems to be what they're doing with it. They seem to be dumping Final Fantasy Remake 2 and now calling it Final Fantasy Rebirth. And the guy who's making it, the director, was like, there is a reason that we're doing this, but we can't tell you what it is just now, so it must be spoilery. So that means, and he has also said that the third one is already in production. So they're quite clearly just doing them back to back. Says to me that it is just a set trilogy that they're going to do with it, which is quite cool. And there's also one called Crisis Core, was it? Yeah, Crisis Core Final Fantasy Reunion, that one's called. So they all seem to be R's people. So I can only assume that the third part is going to be called Resurrection. I don't know, anything beginning with an R. But Final Fantasy, Crisis Core, which I don't know. I'm not as familiar with what went on with all of that Final Fantasy stuff. I feel like this Crisis Core was already a thing in the olden days, and that's also being remade. But for the Crisis Core one seems to be the character, you do see him, it's like his soldier buddy, isn't it? He had a mate who was he fought alongside with dark hair. I think that story is about him. And I saw a bit of a trailer on that as well, because you do see him in a bit of a flashback in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So that was also mentioned as well, although I haven't written down a date for it or anything. I couldn't be more excited for Final Fantasy in general at the moment. I think they're doing really good things with it. And it's kind of, none of it looks like Final Fantasy 15, which I just didn't like at all. So, yeah, Final Fantasy 16 is looking fantastic. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Final Fantasy 7 Core Crisis, Reunion. We're not getting confused, people. I noticed that even though they said that they were calling it these things now, every IGN article I saw still was still referring to it as Final Fantasy Remake Part 2. So I think it's going to take a bit of while for us to get our heads around the fact that they're not all going to be called Final Fantasy Remake, just Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Final Fantasy 7 Core Crisis, Reunion, and then whatever they decide to call Final Fantasy 7 third one. Finally, people, the one thing that came out of the Capcom, well, again, it was a bit of an odd one because they had the Capcom event, didn't mention this at all, and then had a separate thing where they announced this. And it was the maker, as a little 10-minute documentary of the maker of Dragon's Dogma, talking about how Dragon's Dogma came to be and how many years it took to actually get that game to be made, how his thought process ended up making the game. And it was a really interesting watch, actually. And then right at the very end of it, they said, oh, and one last thing, Dragon's Dogma 2 is in the making. So they've started Dragon's Dogma 2. They don't say how far along it is, but exciting, people. Dragon's Dogma was probably one of the most watched Let's Plays I've got on my channel. I haven't actually finished it. Well, I finished the story. People wanted me to go on and do the whatever the enhanced stuff was, but I didn't. But I'm super excited for that. I always loved Dragon's Dogma. I thought it was a fantastic RPG. It came out to mixed reviews. It kind of got 7s, if I remember rightly, because I think a lot of reviewers just didn't get it. Like, they didn't understand, why you could do certain things like throw a pig across a room or, you know what I mean? But for me, I just thought it was so different to a lot of other stuff going on at the time. And it was one of the first ones that was like a proper RPG where you could climb on big creatures and start fighting them from on top of them. I know that like God of War did it, but that was with like creatures that were literally buildings, but I can't think. The other one, this Sony one. But again, they were giant creatures that you were climbing onto. So this was the first sort of one where you were climbing on the legs of, rather than just smacking the ankles of a troll, you could actually climb onto its shoulders and start fighting it from up there. And then you had the whole pawn system where you could bring other people's characters into your game. They weren't using them online with you. You were just pulling their created characters and whatever spec they were at that time into your game, and they would fight alongside you with the AI that was involved. It was a really, really cool system. I really liked it. So I'm really looking forward to see how that comes in Dragon's Dogma 2. Because Dragon's Dogma, I mean, it got a remaster, but it's now 2 generations old as a game. But what I was a little bit disappointed with was there was no mention of a 60 FPS patch for the game. And I just felt like that was a little something that could have just drip fed us to get people who maybe don't know Dragon's Dogma to go and play it. Maybe it'll come. Maybe they'll say that they've dropped a 60 FPS patch for the remake, because that would be superb. I mean, I would probably replay it on the channel just to show it off in 60 FPS. I think you guys would probably be keen to see me play it again anyway, or go on and do enhanced stuff. But I don't know how tricky I'd find that after not playing it for so long. Well, there you are, folks. Quite a few exciting things there to talk about, weren't there? How long did we go for? Oh, we've gone over an hour, people, again. Steady. I think I've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, for fuck's sake, Steve. They're long, these events, people, you know what I mean? Maybe I need to skip my intros and just get on with it. Get on with it. Well, there you are, folks. If I talk any longer, I'll be editing until midnight like I was last week. Well, there you are. I hope that's been of interest to some of you out there and helpful in some way of what you might be thinking of buying in the next year coming up. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Starfield, people, or Diablo 4, or Dragon's Dogma. 2 people, or any of the things that I've been talking about in this podcast of mine today. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you once again in this podcast of mine, and I shall catch you in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.